This is a video on division when there is a remainder and what you can now do with that remainder. So when I go ahead and try to solve, 62 is a pretty big number, so we don't expect you to know your math facts of 62. But what we do expect you to know is when you look over here, know that 62 can't go into 8, but it can go into 80 since 80 is bigger. If you don't know how many times out to the side, you're going to have to multiply. But since I know that 62 is pretty close to 80, I know that can only go in there one time. Subtract 62. And you will get 18. Bring down the 9. I don't know how many times 62 goes into 189, so out of the side, I multiply. I always start with times 5 because that's the middle. It's going to be a number 1 through 9. 5 is kind of in the middle. So that's going to be 310. That's way too big. So I'm going to pick a much smaller number, maybe 3. 186. That's as close as I'm probably going to get. So it goes in there 3 times. I subtract the 186. I get 3. Bring down the 0. 62 can't go into 30. So I put 0 as my part of my quotient. Times 0 does equal 0. So I have 30 left over. What you're used to doing is putting that big R 30, like remainder 30. What we're now going to do is 2 options. One is that you can write that remainder as a fraction. So the quotient stays the same, 130. And then I make a fraction bar next to it. I will be making a mixed number. The leftover, the remainder, 30, goes in the numerator. The divisor, in this case 62, always goes in the denominator. And as always, you have to simplify your fraction. So I know that 2 goes into both of those. So when I divide by 2, 15 over 31. And that is our most simplified form. The other way that we can do it is by making our remainder into a decimal. So what we do from there is add a decimal to our dividend by putting it at the end and bringing it straight up. I have to add a number here that I can bring down, but whatever number I add can't change the value of my original number, 8,090. The only number that fits that is a 0. So add a 0, bring it down. Got to figure out how many times 62 goes into 300. Well, I know that times 5 was 310, so it just got to be times 4. 62 times 4 is 248. So I know that will equal 52. Still have a remainder, so you keep going until you have no remainder, or I usually say after 3 spots after the decimal. I repeat, add another 0, bring it down, 520. I don't know, let me try times 9. 558, a little bit too big, so it has to be times 8. 62 times 8. 496. Subtract 496. 24. Okay, bring down another 0. 240. Well, I know by my work over here that 248 went in 4 times, so it has to be 3 times. Minus 186 equals 54 with the remainder. You can keep going, but actually it may start repeating at some point. But I'm going to go ahead and stop after 3 numbers, because sometimes numbers go on forever and ever. But that's how you would do it with a decimals remainder, and that's how you do it with a fraction as a remainder.